illustration with our favorite species. You've studied people who are infatuated.
Yeah, yes. But just to respond, one thing that Michael said about pair bonding and the fact that, you know, the animals do it when they need to. And in fact, 97% of mammals do not bother to pair up and form a pair bond. Only 3% do for long-term pair bonding, and it is because of particular ecological or sociological needs. And that's one of them. The babies don't run away. Among foxes, the mother's milk is too thin, so she's got to stay in the nest constantly with them, and she'll starve to death if somebody doesn't feed her. Among robins and bluebirds, it's the same thing. A lot of 90% of birds form pair bonds, and they do it largely because they do it because somebody's got to sit on those eggs, and that individual will starve to death. Things like swans and geese, who form lifelong pair bonds, apparently do it. I'm not too sure of this literature. Do it because they have so many babies so rapidly that nobody ever gets out of infancy before a new group comes in. So you're sort of stuck for life. But anyway, so I mean, I've done a lot of studies of human pair bonding, but what I did. Just as a little bit of background, because you're talking about attraction and the sex drive and attachment, and I came to believe that we've evolved three overlapping but somewhat distinct brain systems for mating and reproduction. The sex drive being one, feelings of intense romantic love being the second, and feelings of deep attachment for an individual being the third. I don't think that they are phases. I think you can fall in love with somebody and then suddenly find them very sexually attractive. I think you can go to bed casually with somebody, and that can actually trigger some of the brain circuitry for romantic love, and it'll go that way. And I think you can have a long, deep attachment to somebody from college or work or whatever, and then the circumstances are such that you suddenly fall in love with them. So we've got these three different brain systems, overlapping certainly, but distinct enough so that you can actually go to bed with somebody and have some sex drive and be absolutely positive that you are not in love with them, nor do you feel any deep attachment to them. So I've been more and more interested in how these three brain systems interact. I mean, you can feel deep attachment for one person while you feel intense romantic love for somebody else, while you feel the sex drive for a host of people. So I'm not positive we were built to be happy. We were built to reproduce, and at least the brain evolved to have a lot of different mechanisms for doing that. But anyway, what I and my colleagues have recently been studying over the last 10 years is the brain system associated with intense romantic love. And I've always felt that it was an extremely strong one, much stronger than the sex drive. You know, if you ask somebody to go to bed with you and they say no thank you, you don't kill yourself. But around the world, people live for love, they kill for love, they die for love, they sing about love, they write about love. The oldest love poetry comes from 4,000 years ago, the ancient Sumerians. Myths and legends, as an anthropologist, almost every culture that we've ever studied where there's data has all kinds of myths and legends about intense romantic love. So in 1998 I came to think this is an intense feeling. I think it evolved to enable you, I think the sex drive evolved to enable you to search for a whole lot of partners. I think romantic love evolved to enable you to focus your mating energy on just one at a time and start the mating process. And that attachment evolved to enable you to tolerate this human being, at least long enough to raise a child as a team. So I felt that nobody had ever studied any of the happy emotions. I'm not even positive romantic love is happy. It can be full of anxiety and fear and a whole host of emotions involved. So, but I thought that if I could put people in a functional MRI and somehow design an experiment I could perhaps find some of the networks in this system for romantic love.
So we do read about MRI in the newspaper, but if you could unbundle functional MRI.
Well, it looks like a long donut. It's a huge machine. You lie in it. It's a dark tube. It's open at both ends. It looks like a big giant donut. And you're lying in it. And we make our people very comfortable before we go in, because we don't want to measure anxiety in the brain. We're going to measure romantic love. It's a little hard when you've got your head in some clamps and in a cold room. So, but that's a testament to how strong, powerful this feeling is. But anyway, we make people very comfortable. We put pillows under their knees. I interview them at great length to make sure that they're expensive, the machines, so you got to make sure you got somebody who's in love. The most important question that I ask them, the first question I asked them was, how long have you been in love? We've done 3 experiments. The first was among people who had just fallen in love, average period 7 months. And we had 17 people, 10 women and 7 men. And our second experiment, we put in people who had just been dumped, just been rejected in love. That was very difficult. I learned a lot from that one. It was difficult for me because these people are in intense physical and emotional pain. And love is an addiction.
How did you find these people?
It's pretty easy. It's amazing how,
every college.
Every not just college, In fact,
they agreed to participate in your experiments. I would have thought they'd be so depressed they'd want to just...
Oh, those were, it's harder for the people who are really rejected. Yeah. But a lot of them think they might understand something about the experience that they're going through. So, and of course we say, well, you'll be helping science and you'll be making $50 and that kind of thing. Anything we can do.
Do you think they gain some understanding?
I hope they do. Mm-hmm. I explained to them about romantic love, and they, yes, I hope they do. Mm-hmm. I certainly learned some remarkable things from them, and I can be happy to go there. But so anyway, and the third experiment is we've just finished it, and we're going to announce it actually at the Society for Neuroscience in November. And we've put in 17 people who report that they're still in love after more than 15 years of marriage. The average number of years these people are married is 21 years. And the textbooks all maintain that you cannot sustain intense romantic love, and we found it in all of them. As a matter of fact, what we found in our last experiment is activity in part of the hypothalamus associated with the sex drive, in part of the ventral tegmental area associated with intense romantic love, and part of the ventral pallidum associated with attachment. All 3 brain systems are operating in these people who say that they are still in love in a long-term relationship. And but anyway, you asked about how we find the people. I would put big signs up in colleges and say, have you just fallen in love but can't let go? And they would stumble in. And some wouldn't call back. When I had to go to her dorm room and get her out of bed, she'd been in bed for 3 days.
And did you try to make equal numbers of men and women?
We try, but not everybody wants to lie in a long dark hole with their head in a vice. Right. So we got, you have to be, I always say you can climb out of this. But so anyway, what the experiment is they bring in a photograph of their sweetheart, which I've carefully schooled them that we're not talking about the sex drive. This has to be a photograph that gives them that intense rush of elation. And I go through what romantic love is, all of the things. It's not a guessing game. This can't be a guessing game in this machine. I got to tell them what we're looking for. Do they have that? We need pictures that will drive this experience into them. And I go into great detail with them about what's going to go on, because if I don't, I need to measure romantic love, not anxiety, fear, curiosity, other kinds of things. The most important question that I ask them, the first question is, how long have you been in love? The most important question, I think, about romantic love, as opposed to the sex drive or attachment, is what percentage of the day and night do you think about your sweetheart? And they say, I never stop thinking about him.